So obviously Cyclone today had a very good performance for themselves in that first game. From my point of view, for a rookie team coming into LAN for the first time, I don't think it was that bad of a performance.
Especially against NRG, and you know, NRG kind of turned it on in the end. We talked about, we've done a lot to talk about NRG, kind of that anywhere from 12 to 18 minutes where they finally group as a 5-man unit and start sieging. That's what happened in mid. Cyclone were actually able to combat that a little bit, but again, I think it comes down to a little bit of questionable decision making and positioning from them. If they can clean that up, this is a team that can definitely go toe-to-toe. And I said it in the pregame. I thought this is a team that whoever they beat is probably going to be the other team that doesn't make it. I thought they were just here to play spoiler, but after that performance, I'm not saying they're going to make it. I still think they're the least likely, but they have to be very confident in that performance, and if they can keep that up and only improve, which we have seen most teams do throughout these LANs, where they just improve day 1, day 2, day 3, get better and better, their name could be in the hat for qualifying for Super Regionals.
Any follow-up on that, Toli?
I just think that they need to work on their picks and bans a little bit. They had the second pick option. The Guan Yu was picked after the second phase bans, and they last picked the Ares. They could have potentially ran even some kind of janky support if they wanted to go for an Odin just to find the counter in the healing. Because the sustain, once the energy started grouping up, it was really too much for Cyclone to handle.
Saw how much healing Dimi ended up putting out in that game as the game went on there. But back again we go, and this time round, Ao Kuang will be the first ban for Cyclone as they have the opportunity to be first pick.
Switching sides here, obviously you got to take Ao Kuang out of the hands of adapting. He is nearly undefeated on it. I think his KDA is something absurd like 13 plus across all the games he's brought out Ao Kuang. That is basically permanently banned away from him for the rest of Smite's history.
Yeah, on top of that, Toli, what's the first pick you expect out of Cyclone here? Obviously, we wait for the bans to come through, but what are we exactly going to see? iceicebabyy focused here, or the mid laner maybe?
I think that maybe we're going to start seeing Athena be heavily prioritized throughout this whole weekend, just how effective it's been on the side of iRaffer, because this is not a god that he's been normally playing very often in his last history.
With his history, I'm just going to run you back through it, because the last time we saw it was when Adapting played Thanatos in the jungle, and he didn't have a great game at all.
Did not go so well for Raffer.
I believe Raffer did not die that game, if I'm correct, or just one death.
Well,
it was 1 or 0 deaths, which is very unusual. It's, for me personally, it's Raffer actually showing that his god pool is still expanding.
It's, I mean, I feel like Raffer could bring out almost anything. It's kind of the amount of what has he practiced with this team. I don't know if Athena is something that he's brought out. Maybe after watching the other lands and how dominant it was, he started to put it into his repertoire, but not yet. And NRG actually going to ban it away. I think they're a little bit worried about playing against it more than anything.
I was going to say, Toli, is this more to maybe focus Callus a little bit more? Because Callus, you know, we know him for his Ares. It seems the Fafnir got banned last game and they took Athena. Is that his trio god pull that I guess they're expecting him to run? I
don't think they're necessarily worried about Callus playing the Athena. It's just also about Athena being a flex pick. The Ares didn't really work out for them because they just didn't have other gods to force the purifications.
So was this an adaptation based off that first set against CringeCrew here where the Athena came into play?
It's possible. And Raffer had a really good Athena in the later portions of the game. There was definitely some questionable decisions early on, but late game just, you know, dashing forward, getting in the taunts, like Toli said, a lot of purification and relic burners that he was able to utilize, and just because his team was already ahead, it's so easy for Athena to not have to worry about that too much. You know, his team's going to be there to support him afterwards. I like what NRG are doing in this draft right now. I think they're actually leaving Jingwei open, whereas against other teams, I think they would actually ban it away. I think they want VoteNBK back onto that god.
Totally. I mean, with these picks and bans so far, it looks very clear-cut what both compositions are all about here.
It seems that they want to have more objective control on the side of CycloneGG with that attack speed, so maybe expecting to see a Rama, if it's not banned away, on the side of NRG. It's going to be the Osiris ban. And on the side of NRG, they're going for more crowd control, having the Khepri root, the Erlang Shen root cripple, the great silent stun combination coming out of Isis. That's really leaves Adapting a lot of options how he wants to synergize in the early game with Yammyn playing this Isis.
And that's what we've seen a lot of just these past couple sets, is how dominant massive CC on your team comp is. Even when you're behind, you're really able to control kind of the pace of the fight as long as you stayed somewhat close. Not looking at CringeCrew in their opening game, but outside of that, all the games, it really shows how dominant just heavy CC comps are. You've got the Erlang Shen again, the Isis. These are gods that are very quick and easy to force those purification, because people can't sit in that cripple. They cannot sit in that root. They cannot take a spirit bomb, which is going to do a lot of your health and damage, and not purify away.
Now we saw Erlang Shen picked up by Dimi earlier on, so with that Erlang Shen picked in, we expect it to go to Dimi here. Could we see Adapting pick this up at all here, Toli?
I don't really expect that to be the case. Very aggressive aggressive style coming out of Dimi, I would say, this weekend, pulling the Erlang Shen earlier on and then having to deal against Zeros' Erlang Shen. So it could be very well another repeat performance, and it's going to be very important for Deathwalker to get off into a good start because we know what Dimi can do when he gets off to an early lead.
Well, Tully, you seem to be calling it here because obviously the Jing wave was left up and NRG going to take it, but now Rama being hovered over, some sort of hyper carry for the late game to synergize with his Fafnir.
Very, very fast hover as well. I do think this is going to be locked in. We've seen how dominant Rama has been in these lands once he can get to the late game scenarios, and I think Cyclone are feeling confident, maybe a little bit worried about NRG and their game one after seeing how strong their early game was, and so going more for that Jing way, which is going to help them out. That was picked up incredibly earlier in their draft, and now if they feel confident enough to bring it to 20 minutes without being too much of a difference in gold, like Rama is such a good character to take into that late game. All his abilities basically enhance his auto attacks, which how devastating auto attacks are in late game. You're looking at 800-900 plus crits.
Totally, Chaac's back again. He did get some love recently.
He did. So his ultimate now does knock up, so he doesn't have to have the axe knock-up combination with that.
It's not like when he first came out, though, right? When he got that knock-up,
Not the bugged one.
It's not the one where you can knock the fire giant and cancel Kyron out and
we're not going to talk about those days
anymore.
Okay. Now they fix also the torrent, the second ability, where you can. It's not going to miss out on a few minions or whatnot.
More reliable.
It's more consistent. And on top of this, you're basically fighting fire with fire because Erlang Shen can clear safely as well as Chaac. They could both throw their abilities into the mix. So no god here in this matchup really wants to come too close to the wave.
A little bit surprising to see the Nemesis there in the last pick.
Really?
Mostly because when you play a Nemesis, you really like those big bursty mage ultimates to follow up after, and you don't really get that from Isis.
But with the Nemesis here, you're going to have the Fafnir and Chaac to really focus on and potentially pin down a little bit. Is that going to be useful there?
I mean, it's definitely going to be targeted. His ultimates, for the most part, aren't going to be, okay, let's ult him, CC him, and then have Raw or Raijin ult afterwards, and it's a free kill. They're definitely going to be about controlling the pace and flow of the fight.
Well, these guys taking a little bit of time on this, on getting themselves ready for this one. So when we go through this, let's go through the matchups here, Tully. First up, Chaac versus Erlang Shen.
I think that in this matchup, it should go into the Chaac's favor because he's just going to be able to out-sustain Erlang Shen and out-clear in the early game. But I don't think that adapting is going to let this be a 1v1 matchup. It's just been so consistent about trying to camp Dimi, trying to get him into an early lead, and then maybe look for those speed buff and blue buff invades.
And then Dennis, mid lane and jungle come together. Obviously, we're going to put them both together because that's where they always pair. Raijin and Batz up against here the Isis and the Nemesis.
Obviously, Isis is always this early game carry god. Raijin actually matches that pretty well. Thunder Crash keeps him very safe. He has a lot of burst damage with his Raijin Thunder Crash combo as well. But with the Nemesis coming out of the jungle, I think NRG are just trying to hold on for the early game. I'm expecting a Wrath coming out of iRaffer again. I think they really want to abuse that Isis and go for those early Gold Furies. And Cyclone actually have a really good counter engage. I will say it's a little bit similar to last time where they don't have a ton of purification burners. But actually, no, I think I'm lying. The more I break this down, because Fafnir's engage outside of Dragon form is a single hammer. It's not that strong. A lot of times you still want to rely on that blink Batz, but the Chaac is just going to be so naturally sustaining and also have the heals in his kit that he's probably not going to be a primary engage tool, but he can just sit on the front line and soak up a lot of abilities.
Well, the duo lane obviously going to go pretty even here, I want to say, with Rama and Fafnir up against the Khepri because his wave play is fantastic to go along with the Jing way. But then when I'm looking at the supports coming to the mid lane here, we've had a lot of talk, Tolly, about how good Fafnir is against Isis and being able to solo her down here, and NRG drafted that into him.
That's true. It's going to be a lot of objective control between those two guys, Fafnir and Isis, attack speed versus just damage mitigation and the heal. But on the flip side, Khepri in those little 3v3 skirmishes, the Rising Dawn is going to mitigate a lot of damage coming on the side of Cyclone.
Also in the smaller fights as well, Khepri is a little bit less useful. You can either jump on him and he's very easy to counter because obviously he's only going to be able to ult himself. He's going to respawn in place. You can pin him down and kind of body block him in. But in 3v3 scenarios, it's one of those things where Khepri can also get off very quick ults. There's not that 5-man burst coming onto one player, and it gives you a lot of time to react to situations.
Well, that gem on your screen in the center there with the hat on is Wlfy. He's been around the scene for a very long time, the mid laner for CycloneGG. Never made it into the Pro League until this split, though, but he has been a solid part of it, and a lot of people know him as a very good player.
He's been playing for quite some time. Into the SPL, he used to be Fnatic's old sub. We saw him come into the game at a handful, maybe 5 games played for them. So he's definitely got some experience. Maybe not at LAN, but he is a rock on this team.
Okay, Tolly, last minute, who do you think is going to win this game based off picks and bans?
I think Energy strategy between the Isis shredding magical protections, Nemesis being able to steal the physical, it's going to be able to really shut down the front line coming out of Cyclone. I got to give it to Energy.
Dennis?
I'm going to give it to Energy. I actually really like the composition drafted from Cyclone, but again, comes down to I saw a lot of mistakes in game 1. I don't think they're going to be able to switch it up in time.
I don't really give a crap who wins. All I care about is good games of Smite. F.Aggro, take it away.
Game number 2, my friends. We're getting underway and we'll head right to the battlefield. No reason to switch it up at all. And Energy trying to win game number 2. And I would say fast. They're trying to find a fast game. They've got this, obviously, Isis in the mid, and she certainly does a very good job in the early game.
Well, I mean, we saw the kind of potency that she has in the early game up against Cringe Crew in game 1, kind of helped dictating that pace with the Wlfy, with the pressure from Erlang, Shen in the solo lane as well. And going for that Erlang combination with the Isis is going to be really, really potent here. There's a lot of long CC on the side of Energy. You've got the root cripple, which lasts 1.75 seconds. You've got the pull out of iRaffer that feels like it'll last forever. And that'll just allow characters like emilitoo and adapting in Yammyn to just really dump the damage into the characters that are able to get CC'd. And with that sort of combination, a Nemesis ult right after a pin from Erlang Shen, they're not moving for a long time with very little health. And hold the phone. Was that a girdle?
Absolutely. We call it Frenzy these days. Cyclone going to start this one off. You can see it's going to be on Chaac. I like this selection right here. So Frenzy is an item that we don't see much of, as under-purchased, and basically it just provides a whole bunch of offensive prowess, and that's going to allow Cyclone to be a little bit more dominant, especially Chaac here looking to really bully this Erlang Shen out of the lane.
I got nothing for you, F.Dot. I got nothing for you this time on this Frenzy in the solo lane. If you want to clear faster in the first time, like the first few buffs, get Wrath. You know,
Sure.
get extra pressure.
It's less about that and more about the team fight ability, honestly. Chaac is going to be in the middle of a lot of these fights, a lot of these sort of initiations. Kevin said that, you know, Chaac's probably not going to be the primary initiator. Instead, he's just going to be this big, beefy, tanky guy in the front line, and that's a perfect spot to be able to drop that Frenzy.
I absolutely agree, but he shouldn't really be in these team fights until he's after level 12, so he could have got...
Sure.
If he gets it second, I understand, and I agree. I'm just very... I think that Frenzy is an underutilized active overall. Actually, Yammyn gets all 3 of those back harpies, and now iceicebaby's caught out in a really bad spot.
And this is the downside of getting very aggressive and looking for the invade. iceicebabyy wrapping all the way around, gonna meet up with a spirit ball to the back of the noggin. And the monkey's still trying to find a way out, but not gonna happen. First blood goes to adapting off the assist from the mid lane.
So you see iceicebabyy go to Energy's back right harpies because adapting went to their back right harpies, but it was Wlfy who came to see where adapting was, and so he was nowhere near iceicebabyy, and there's the easy first blood overall. Plus losing that purification means he's in a lot of trouble even when he respawns.
So that'll punish the guys on Cyclone very early on. 500 gold bounty on the side of Energy. And the dual lane seems to be going Cyclone's way, despite how things are going in the jungle. Ram tossing out a couple of taunts as well.
That's what you do on Ram, man. That's what you do. I mean, first it was the laugh, and then it was like, well, even if I'm using a different sort of skin, I feel like this is the right sort of play style to be going for. I mean, Frezzy or Panda-like on Obey is the guy who's known for the extra taunts and stuff.
Hold up, I gotta give a shout to my mans right there. Hits the 360 basic attack onto emilitoo. You gotta give a shout out.
All right, I'll give him some hype whenever he hits a 360 snipe. But Dimi's the one in trouble. There's the frenzy popped. We'll see if it's gonna be able to do enough damage. Dimi just trying to get out, adapting, just fighting into 3, even though he's on level 4.
Rotation from Energy comes after Cyclone misses everything. And that's going to be trouble for Deathwalker. Frenzy or not, that one winds up being a death. You know, the Frenzy, I think it did offer enough damage, but we just didn't see any accuracy. Cyclone misses everything after the Frenzy pop.
And now Collis may have to use his ultimate here. Luckily, recognizes that the circle of protection from Yammyn is down. Instead, just eats a little bit of poke for free, basically. But maybe there was enough damage with that Frenzy there if you see Wlfy connect with those Taiko drum shots. But like you mentioned, only hitting about half of those means that he's not going to be able to do that. And there you see Adapting just using the ultimate to completely dissuade iceicebabyy from coming into this blue buff. He's not looking for a kill. He's just looking to make sure that Batz wants no part of defending the blue buff for Chaac.
And that's one of the nice things that you have about the Nemesis ultimate is that it works as just as well as a fighting tool as a go away from me tool.
Yeah,
right?
a fly swatter.
There you go.
Basically.
There you go. I like that one.
Kind of works like a fly swatter. Everyone for Cyclone on this left-hand side looking for the Harpies. Yammyn tries to steal them away, but they should go the way of NRG there. I don't think, or excuse me, Cyclone. I don't think iRaffer stole them with the root.
No, Wlfy's able to secure them for the rest of the team, and he'll be able to secure a little bit of the jungle as well.
Man,
so
frenzy, dude. Like, I just don't. I'm sorry, I can't get away from it. Just if you want, again, like I was about to say before, iceicebabyy was on those back right Harpies and gets picked off. I think it is an underutilized relic.
Sure.
I think it has a place in the game for sure. I think that we've seen how things like Sustain have come from no one playing it to everyone playing it.
Let me just cut you off there and ask, all right, so what is the proper place for Frenzy? When do you want to see it?
I like to see it towards the later game, whenever
Sure.
the attack speed matters and is relevant for your overall squad. Obviously, you need power and stuff like that to make the attack speed worthwhile. And it's great for burning objectives, for sieging towers, to really push an advantage, getting it on a character like a Freya or a Kronos, someone that can really make best use of that attack speed. It can really, really be great. I mean, it's basically like Fafnir Coerce in your pocket on a cooldown for your relic. We see how popular Fafnir is because of that Coerce, but in the early game, it's not as effective because you don't have as much power with the attack speed that would come along with it. Plus, again, Chaac's not going to be in these team fights until the later stages of the game, at least until he's level 12 probably. Why not pick it up as your second relic? I got to get Hazer back in here, and we got to throw him up on the desk so I can grill him a little bit about this. I don't know if this is his idea or Deathwalker's.
I mean, it's certainly interesting. We'll take a look at how it works out. Wlfy gets slowed down a little bit and avoids the root thanks to a quick Thunder Crash.
NRG just using this early pressure that they've gotten to the fullest extent, but VoteNBK doesn't care about any pressure around the map. He's the one with pressure in the duo lane, still continuing to play a little bit aggressive like we saw in the last game. It worked out towards the mid game whenever he was able to dash in and really make a huge impact with the Jing, but we'll have to see if he's able to do the same on this ROM this time around.
I mean, both these players want to fight. ML certainly never one to really walk away from an engagement. And VoteNBK, like we heard earlier, always seemingly wants to fight. So I'm excited to see this dual lane go down. Wonder when we'll see the Hunter duel. And here comes emilitoo getting rather aggressive, bringing his opposition down to about half HP, but there's a couple ultimates in the mid lane. Ultimate out of the Raijin player, and Wlfy barrels the damage in, taking out iRaffer. Adapting tries to answer back, putting an ultimate onto the monkey, and the slowdown is strong. It's 1v3,
Great
and here
knockout.
comes help, and emilitoo's rotation is fruitful.
Great taunt in by Dimi. Airstrike over the top. Here comes Deathwalker with a huge knockup from that storm call. Deathwalker gonna get the last hit onto Yammyn. VoteNBK is here, but no one is low enough for him to go up into the snipes. Overall, a 2-for-1 in favor of Cyclone.
And that's going to come out very positive for the rookies there, taking on NRG. They're going to win that engagement, which is probably the first real team fight that they've been able to take against NRG. We've seen a couple of picks here or there and a nice gank, but that's a big play.
And he didn't even use Frenzy. Deathwalker didn't use it until they cleared the speed buff. Okay, can we? I'm just gonna pretend it doesn't exist. That's
No,
all I'm
I
gonna
want
do.
you. I want you to keep.
Because I
assessing
know
this.
that Twitch chat's gonna be like, clearly aggro. There is a very obvious reason that you're missing, and they might be right because it's just so out of the ordinary for me that I physically cannot think of a reason why to pick it up first relic. There's got to be something that I'm missing here.
I mean, it's a powerful item.
Kind of. It doesn't get picked very much, so it must not be that solid, especially first. The only time I've seen it, we saw a slight resurgence of Frenzy whenever Fafnir was at his strongest, because you would pop the Coerce, use the Frenzy in between the Coerce cooldown, and then Coerce again once the Frenzy wore off. And you just had like, 12 to 14 seconds of insane attack speed and power. And so it was really powerful then, but we've still seen Fafnir start to go the route of the shells, of the sprints, more traditional support pickups, because they realize that there's no, you're just overstepping what you're already great at. You may as well accentuate some of your weaknesses.
So we'll take a look, and maybe we'll come back to the Frenzy as the game goes on, because it's certainly something I'm going to keep my eye on. You can see Chaac building into more to the defense, so certainly not going to get a huge benefit there, but Wlfy started by NRG. Here comes a VoteNBK from the sky. Tries to get it, can't quite.
It was close.
Close but no cigar.
Close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
All right. Me and Handyman had a conversation about this. Where'd you first hear that idiom?
Probably my dad.
Right.
He says like old time stuff like that.
It's a classic.
It is. Deathwalker trying to get Dimi to take the bait. iceicebabyy is here. So is Wlfy and Kalas. The whole of Cyclone just collapsed on top of Dimi, but they don't realize NRG's coming around the back.
Adapting gets the ultimate onto Wlfy, and before he can Thunder Crash away, takes him down. Rotation at Yammyn as well, puts down Deathwalker, and there's 2 players left in Cyclone jerseys, and NRG relatively healthy, looking for the fight. Adapting gets a slow, but is called back. Long-range Spirit Ball off the mark. Not going to find the stun. Hunter v Hunter, however, emilitoo gets very low, but VoteNBK used his ultimate on the Gold Fury, so not available to take out emilitoo just yet.
Close to killing him, but again, close doesn't count here in Smite. It does force emilitoo to back though, but because he is Jing, not really worried about losing any farm. Rapid reincarnation, one of the best passers in the game without a doubt. And overall on the solo side, 2 for 1 in favor of NRG this time. Coming out on top, Dimi able to do enough damage, but then they just never saw the rotation coming, which is kind of surprising overall. You see the ward on the right side, Harpies, probably not just too high to see the rotation coming directly from the mid lane, and that's really the only ward you see until it was way too late. On the backside of the Fire Giant, by the time they got those pings, alerting them to NRG's presence, they had nowhere to go. Deathwalker and Wlfy fall. That was Wlfy's first death, and now he's actually picking up Doom Orb's second item. He completed his boots, and now he's going for the Doom Orb to get that extra damage. We saw Pretty Prime go for the Doom Orb on Raijin, and he had a great game on it. It really made it feel like the Raijin of old, the Raijin that was able to be a top pick in the mid lane. The only problem is that it's not just built into his kit anymore. There is some risk involved.
Sure, but you know, when it comes down to it, I'm always a proponent for Doom Orb. I think risk versus reward is just a fantastic item. Going to give you a bunch of power, 140 at its top power, and that's really what you're looking for. If you're playing Raijin, you're not a utility mage, despite what anybody out there might say. You're looking to blow people up.
You are a murderer. That's your job.
Sure.
You're there to murder the enemy gods and do whatever you can. It doesn't matter if you have to use your whole kit, and because once you get to that late game, the 2-3 combination straight into the ultimate is going to kill just about anybody, able to put out that heavy damage. We see Yammyn, he started with a tiny trinket and then sold his item, the tiny trinket, to finish off the Warlock Sash pretty early here. Finishing your Warlock Sash at 11 minutes as a mid lane mage is a good spot to be in overall, especially if you're buying it second, not directly before your boots. But selling away that tiny trinket, there is a risk there because you're losing some power overall. You're losing that magical lifesteal. Plus, if he wanted to build into a Bancroft's talent or something along those nature that really synergizes well with Isis overall, he's not able to do that anymore because he sold it.
I suppose. I still like the choice. Anything that allows you to get that Warlock Sash underway earlier is the right call in my eyes. iceicebabyy ganks the dual lane, but emilitoo able to find safety very, very quickly.
ML electing to use the ultimate there instead of blowing one of the relics. He probably could have kept on walking. It didn't look like iceicebabyy wanted to keep putting on that pressure, but playing it safe than sorry here at the first day of Group C.
So 12 minutes on the clock. NRG with a slight lead, about 3,000, give or take, just underneath. And there's 8 kills on the board, with 5 of them belonging to our defending world champions. Making a powerful push on the right-hand side is going to be our solo laner, Dimi, and his support. iRaffer is going to push up and not quite take the tower, bring it down to about half HP. And instead, I will shift over to the mid lane, where Kalas, the support for Cyclone, is standing, able to be ganked. Here's the ultimate out of Wlfy and the jungler. And Wlfy very quickly puts down iRaffer.
Look at the damage from the Frenzy, man. Burning away iRaffer, who is certainly dead without it. ML wants to go aggressive in this duo lane side. VoteNBK forced to back up. Having the wave advantage just it's been back and forth. Whoever has got the lane advantage has been dashing into the other one, trying to make plays. There it's ML forcing VoteNBK back a little bit, and because VoteNBK did not go for any lifesteal, that's definitely in Jingwei's favor. He went for the Devourer's Gauntlets, which allows him to take that extra poke and not really worry about it.
right now. Right side Harpy is going to be looked at. Deathwalker leading the charge, will get stunned out, and that might be the play. A silence, and NRG all of a sudden looking for the kill.
Huge taunt.
And there's going to be a silence one more time out of Deathwalker, but instead the turnaround from NRG. Nice Spirit Ball's going to stun 2 and take the life of 1. Yammyn gets credit for Deathwalker, and emilitoo takes out iceicebabyy. Dimi dive in the tower. That's going to open the door for the rest of NRG to walk right on through. Wlfy just barely escapes. Dimi's too low. Wlfy turns around and takes him down, but emilitoo answers back by smacking Collis.
Great snipes, though, from VoteNBK. Kill Yammyn as well. So all in all, you do kill 2
Look at Emil,
on
though.
the sides of NRG. No way to defend this tier 2, tier 1 tower. Great 3v4 fight on those right-hand Harpies. Huge Spirit Balls coming out of Yammyn. The ultimate was a little bit late from adapting. I don't know if that was on cooldown or if he just waited a little bit, but the hard engage happened, and then afterwards he ults Deathwalker, who had a great ultimate overall, but, you know, with Frenzy down, it hurts their team fight overall, am I right?
It does. I know you're being snide, but it actually does.
It does, it does.
Got to give credit to Emil. emilitoo goes ahead, dives the Phoenix to secure the kill on a Wlfy, using that high mobility out of his character, Jing. Not just to hunt down the support right there, but also to make sure that his tower stays alive. If emilitoo is any character but Jing, the tower goes down, but to the Ram. But instead, emilitoo is able to get back in time and protect the tower.
One of the many things, or one of the many reasons rather, why Jing is considered the top physical hunter in all of Smite right now. And the damage output, the mobility, the escapability, all of those things just make her so difficult to deal with. And just like any hunter, you let them get to the late game, they're going to do a lot of damage. And right now he's sitting at 4-0-0. Highest farm on his team, except for adapting, who's really pretty far ahead of Dimi. Both the solo laners in this matchup have not had the typical amount of farm that you would expect. They've been rotating to these fights and trying to really be involved overall.
Well, I mean, the characters that they are, specifically Chaac. Chaac needs to be in these team fights, even as the team fight relic. Adapting, looking like he just wants to go all the way in. Looking towards the tower very quickly. Chaac an ultimate in response. Adapting, taking a ton of damage, and here's the rotation. iceicebabyy takes down the jungler, and Dimi in some trouble as well. Stun, and Wlfy is able to capitalize off of that and bring home another kill. It's 5 in total for the mid lane Raijin.
Very rare complete misstep there from adapting and the rest of NRG. Just there's no reason for him to be tanking that tower. It should have been Dimi who was the first one in. He's the tankier one, and he's got the heals from the ultimate. And then staying there when the rotation was coming over from the rest of Cyclone, you can see, I believe a ward just fell off on that right-hand side around the top right Harpies.
It wasn't a secret.
Yeah, they had to know they were coming. Rare misstep cost them a lot. It cost them 2 lives and the tier 1 tower on the right, possibly a tier 2 as well.
Yeah, iRaffer is going to be surrounded here on the Khepri. He's going to get in trouble, stunned out, and he's on top of the ice assault, so that should help him out just a little bit, but it won't help the tower. Down to its last bit of life. The teleport going to come in from the solo lane. Yammyn able to shut down iceice very quickly.
iceice's having a tough game right now, 1-4-5. Now the sprint is popped. The rest of NRG want to chase down these kills. As Cyclone tries to get out, they are going to be able to disengage overall. Right-hand Harpy is going to get started up by NRG. Forcing them off that tier 2 tower is very important. That would have put Cyclone right back even into this game. And more importantly, that little moment allowed a lot of the members that needed farm to get it. You see Wlfy now 5-2-2, almost fully stacked on that Doom Orb, the same level, only 200 gold down from Yammyn, really making a big impact in these rotations to the solo lane.
Individually, Cyclone has been able to sort of match up, but emilitoo quietly going to take the Gold Fury. Here comes the rest of Cyclone.
Oh,
they might be able
close.
to snatch it. Nope.
Snuck away. Gold Fury goes the way of NRG, now sitting up about 5,000 gold. That's a big Gold Fury right now, because right as Cyclone was starting to get back into the game, that was an opportunity. If they could win a fight and get that Gold Fury, they'd be in the lead, but instead, emilitoo is just able to sneak it away, continue to push the lead for NRG, and keep them where they want to be, in control of this game.
You just can't let that happen at the pro level. I think that right there is the difference between our two teams. NRG with a plethora of experience, both in, I mean, the thing about NRG that gets me when it comes down to it, we always say experience as a catch-all term, but NRG has shown their best in the Challenger Cup. They've shown their best in the Pro League. They've shown their best in the Pro League Online and at LAN. They've shown their best at Worlds. They've shown their best at international competitions. Speaking specifically about DreamHack, they've been around and in and out of many different types of defensive playstyles. Cyclone, they've come out of the Challenger Cup into the Pro League, and this is their first real split in going forward. So NRG, well-versed in many different sort of disciplines of Smite, whereas Cyclone, very wet of the ears.
VoteNBK tried to take the fight in the left-hand side, but he didn't know adapting was there. Now just trying to get as much damage out as he can. Immediately knocked up, but Emo kind of goes away from him with that airstrike. The dash is down. He's still going to fall here. Adapting gets the kill, but the fight is breaking out on the right-hand side. Cyclone's trying to make a play happen while Adapting's on the left.
But what are they going to do? It's 18 minutes in. They're not significantly ahead. I think Fire Giant's a pipe dream at this point in time. So Cyclone just sort of group up as 4 and look menacingly into the jungle while NRG says, all right, there's nothing for you to get. So no sweat.
They're hoping that NRG isn't ready for the rotation of the right-hand side. They were hoping that, you know, they can catch someone out farming back camps, farming a buff, something along those lines. But you were just talking about it. The overall experience from NRG just shines through in basically every single game they play. They've been there, done that, no matter what situation it is, and it shows.
Right now, almost 20 minutes on the clock. NRG leading this one very slightly as far as the kills are concerned, but almost 6,000 with respect to the gold. And the experience following a similar trend. Now getting very aggressive. Thought we might have seen a team fight there, but instead collapsing onto the rotating solo lane. It's going to be Deathwalker.
Just trading out any sort of damage. He's fine to do that just because of the heals that he has available to him with that rain call, just doing so much healing. But now that he's only level 16, you can see he's a level down from both his mid and his hunter. He's 4 levels down from emilitoo right now. So he's only got 3 items online, whereas emilitoo's got 4.5 right now, almost finished the crit. He's got to be very careful. You're not going to be able to play the same sort of tanky, I don't care what you're doing to me solo laner. You got to be very wary of the kind of damage that characters like Yammyn and like emilitoo are going to be able to do to you.
So certainly going to hang on to that for dear life, quite literally. Adapting, looking for an angle here. Going to wrap around in the dual lane. This could be devastating. Very low as VoteNBK. Doesn't even need the help from the jungler, but Adapting comes in and smacks it down anyway. emilitoo does the majority of the damage for that one, and they'll likely take the tower. In fact, they will, and head on to tier 2. Deathwalker here on the right side, tanking a player for Cyclone, looking to join the rest of the team instead. There comes the Frenzy, up in the air, and down comes the shoulder slam. But Chaac, that's all he does.
Ice just couldn't get that totem on the other side of iRaffer. You wanted to push him back into the jungle. Instead, pushes him towards safety in his tower. Now Kalas is the one that's taking a lot of damage. emilitoo's backed and made the rotation. He's already here. By the way, NRG got that tier 2 tower on the left-hand side as well, pushing their lead even farther ahead. 8,000 gold now for NRG.
That tier 2 is probably one of the more important plays that we've seen here from NRG, who are going to start the Fire Giant. Already 90%. Steel Series gives us our listen-ins. Let's ride along with NRG as they defend their fire.
Yeah. I'm ulting.
Ghost him.
Careful,
I have ult still. Raijin.
Chaac.
Was it disengage? Disengage. Okay, back up.
Dimi
Back up. Alright, so the Rama's going to be making his way, so if you need to get the foot back to fire fast. They're on the backs.
I'm staying here. I'm a passive. I got showered when I back.
So NRG right there, clearly setting up the base, or the bait rather. And you can hear iRaffer saying very quickly, you've got to come back to the Fire Giant.
As soon as you don't kill that Fafnir with the Ice's ultimate, you have to disengage, because Ice's ultimate, in those sorts of scenarios, when you're baiting or flirting with an objective, you either have to guarantee a kill with it, or you have to secure the objective. And if you can do neither, then you're already at an automatic disadvantage, unless you're able to hit multiple people and really turn the team fight from there. But using it exclusively to try and kill Fafnir, Kalas able to get out just barely, and so right away you hear the call to disengage from NRG. Deathwalker didn't get that same call on the side of Cyclone. He's in a lot of trouble on this right-hand side.
Sprint activated, coming out from the guys on NRG. Ultimate on cooldown, so is the Frenzy. And Deathwalker himself is going to be on a 47-second cooldown. Cyclone, the rest of them, will head over to the left side and take out a Gold Fury. So that's a little bit of a diamond in the rough, providing a little bit of gold for Cyclone. That'll boost him up to about 50,000. Only trailing by 7K now are the rookies.
Some much needed gold there. Perfect purification and dash out of the ultimate from iceicebabyy, but now Adapting's probably gonna have to give up this tier 1 tower on the right-hand side, but he's okay with that. Look at 3 members of NRG pushing down the right tier 2. They're willing to trade this out right now because they're just getting extra pressure for these Fire Giant fights.
Kalas gets snatched out by his direct opposition. iRaffer, who instead is just going to take a tier 2. What are Cyclone doing? They're just nowhere to be seen, while NRG's seemingly just take these towers for free.
Exactly. This reminds me a lot like what Cringe Crew did in game 1, where they just watched NRG do whatever they felt like doing. There, they felt like taking 2 tier 2 towers, and Cyclone says, all right, guys, they're yours. We'll take a tier 1 and left. Is that okay with you? NRG says, yeah, that's okay with us. You can do that. We're okay with that. And so they do it, but you can't just be trading out towers whenever you're down 10,000 gold, because they're going to run out of towers to push, and then they're going to be looking at Phoenixes. They're going to be looking at Fire Giants, and now Cyclone has nowhere to run during these fights.
Not at all, and that's going to be the problem, I think, for Cyclone long term. Is that not like the gold differential that NRG obtain from taking down those towers, of course, is going to be relevant, and of course is going to be an important talking point, but I think you hit the nail on the head. More importantly is that there is no safe space for Cyclone to go here. Out comes the ultimate from the jungler, but NRG can turn around and they're going to look for the kills. Nice Khepri save coming out of iRaffer, and there's an ultimate out of the Isis, looking to turn things around. Rama making it rain from the sky, but not enough to take anybody down, and a big crit. Adapting to take down iCeice.
Emilitoo in the back line just doing his best to trade out damage into the 2 damage dealers. Adapting now to trades places with him. Kalas gonna fall to Yammyn. Yammyn gets the, adapting with the double. Yammyn picks up Kalas as well. Adapting, just forcing Wlfy out here, just doing his best to be an annoyance while the rest of his team head towards. What in the, that auto attack did half his health.
Adapting chases him all the way downtown, building a little bit of crit. You can see the Wind Demon being built on the Nemesis.
And the Hidden Dagger. He must have rolled a good number there on RNG, just giving him that crit, as well as a Stone Cutting Sword, giving him extra power with each auto attack that he's doing as well. So just spread out overall. That fight looked really, really good for Cyclone for a little bit, but a great Khepri ult revives Dimi. Then he's able to get the heal off by just a hair, able to come back to about a quarter HP, while the rest of the team was just scrambled from the damage from emilitoo and adapting. It was a perfect bait and switch almost. emilitoo goes in the back line, does a ton of damage, pops a Sanctuary and gets out, and right as he's getting out and everyone's watching him run away, adapting dashes in and gets the double.
And that's what you got to expect every single time out of NRG. They built this composition on purpose. They didn't accidentally just pick a bunch of gods that they enjoy playing, right? This is all about specific iterations of sustain. This time around is going to be the Isis that'll allow them to heal up some of the players, but more importantly, douse the counter initiation from the opposition in flames. There's really no way you can engage on NRG safely.
No, but VoteNBK's got to be really careful here. There's the Spirit Ball, going to do a ton of damage. Yammyn able to pick him up before Rom could go into the sky. No wards on that left-hand side for Cyclone. They had no idea that NRG was waiting for them to push up those waves.
Just not quite ready yet. NRG left side looking for a push into the Phoenix. Here comes Deathwalker. Should be leading the charge, put a couple of players in front of him.
5v4 right now for NRG, just waiting to siege down this tower. And is that an Emperor's armor on the side of iRaffer? I believe it is. So he's going to be able to siege these towers down even easier, slowing the attack speed whenever they're into the tower range.
I mean, we've seen him purchase this item before. Certainly one of his favorites. Look how much slower this Phoenix is going to go ahead and attack him. And that should open the window for a little bit of his team to come in and take down the Phoenix, already below half HP, and the Firebird in dire straits goes right on down. NRG now looking for the players. Jumping forward is going to be one, looking for the second, who's going to find his way safely underneath the Titan as well.
Look at all the cooldowns that had to be used just off the pin from Erlang Shen. As soon as he hits it onto Wlfy, you see the Deathwalker ultimate right away, the Purification used by Raijin to get out of there. Just the long-range initiation so strong.
There's the Frenzy as Cyclone trying to make their last stand. Here comes the ultimate out of Fear No Evil, but it's just not enough. Dimi takes down one. NRG barreling down the right-hand side. Jumping forward is Kalas, but you can't jump away from the double dash.
8-1 and 10 is adapting. Now Deathwalker just trying to get into the fountain,
9-1 and 10.
but a Nemesis doesn't want to let it happen. iRaffer going to revive himself. That's 5 members still alive for NRG. This is going to be the 2-0 that everyone was expecting.
Very quickly, NRG make work of Cyclone. 27.5 minutes of regulation play, and down go the rookie squadron to NRG. They're able to take the sweep here. That'll give them 3 more points, a total of 4 in the day so far, and NRG in a point to make a point.
I'm sure NRG still disappointed with the 4 points today. Probably wanted that 2-0 sweep up against Cringe Crew in the first set, but they still came out strong and took care of business. That's what it's all about here at LAN. As long as you win the games you're supposed to win, if you're a top 1 or 2 seed, you're going to get to where you want to be, and that is going to be Super Regionals.
Absolutely. Super Regionals is the next stop for some of these players, and then of course in between they'll hopefully head to Worlds. If NRG continue to look like they do today, I think they might have a good chance.
Yeah, I would say so. NRG is still a pretty solid team, so I'm sure they're going to be looking still really good throughout the rest of the weekend. Not, like I mentioned, probably not particularly pleased with the 4 points, but they got to just come out, and I'm really excited to see their matchups up against Obey. I'm also excited to see how Cringe Crew are able to do the rest of the weekend as well. They've surprised a lot of people overall. I'm excited to see who moves on.
Absolutely, Cringe Crew have certainly turned up, but it was NRG's time this turn around. 2-0, the way of NRG. Analysts, break it down.
Thanks so much, Tom and Aggro. And what we saw there was typical energy for the most part. They came back to the best overall after the set against Cringe Crew earlier on.
Another really good kind of late game scenario, really utilizing that Khepri to allow adapting to dive in the backline. And there was almost never a point where adapting needed that ultimate. He was just doing a really good job of isolating out those carries. He ulted onto the Hunbats actually pretty frequently when the Hunbats would try and engage, which means the Hunbats has to jump out. He has no follow-up damage. We saw that explicitly in the last fight on the Phoenix as well. And it was just overall control from NRG. And I think Cyclone are really struggling in a couple aspects still.
Yeah, and you were saying to me, Dennis, that you felt like these guys could potentially become something in the future. They've got things to work on. Totally, what things do they really need to work on, though?
I feel like yet again in game number 2 against NRG, they didn't have any sort of guaranteed initiation or CC coming out of their composition. They had the Hunbats ulti and the Chaac ulti, and then they're relying on the Fafnir hammer to really set themselves up. Whereas you look inside of NRG, they have Isis, Khepri, Erlang, Shen, 3 great gods for easy, safe initiations.
Another Chaac. I'm going to go to both of you this because I don't know who to ask. Frenzy Chaac at the start of the game.
It made sense because they have Fafnir with the coerce and the attack speed, and then they're trying to rely on the Frenzy basically to just carry them in these team fights. The problem was they never had the advantage to really start making team fights for themselves.
First relic?
Yeah, I think the issue there, I'm okay with Frenzy, but the main issue was it going in that first relic spot, especially with Deathwalker dying so early on in that matchup. He was pigeonholed. He didn't have the ability to teleport to get back in the lane or teleport into team fights, and I really think it did hurt them overall.
I think the strategy was to maybe find a kill early on
that was the plan.
Dimi, but like if that was your goal, Sunder would have done the same exact issue, but like trying to synergize better with the Fafnir, with the Frenzy.
That's true. You see it turn around and adapting eventually. emilitoo, though, had a pretty good game over in the duel lane as well, Dennis.
Yeah, again, VoteNBK was really struggling, and so we're near the teams, we're able to hear them, and all I hear VoteNBK doing is, emilitoo's not fighting me, he's scared. Maybe not in those words, but VoteNBK was just trying to fight, and emilitoo did a great job. Normally, he's the one that's going to take any 1v1 fight, but he actually just played off of VoteNBK's weakness. VoteNBK is trying to prove himself at this LAN, constantly pushed up. He's really having trouble reading the situation he's in. Again, he was 1-4-0 at the end. His team had 8 kills. The only kill he had, and he was a part of, was a snipe at the end of a fight where he shouldn't even got it because iRaffer just ulted the wrong target.
True. He did ult the wrong one.
He was never anywhere where he needed to be, and he was always out of position. Great mechanical player. We're seeing that from him, but really, if Cyclone are going to take any games, he needs to fix his positioning.
Mechanical players, though. Wlfy had a pretty good game for Cyclone again. I mean, he's one of these guys that has stepped up totally to the mid lane, and even in that set, even though his team were down, he did have some good impacts.
He has been playing off of his jungler, iceicebabyy, really well. With the Frenzy also into Deathwalker, he's been making a lot of plays with the Raijin. There wasn't too tanky of a composition from NRG in the earlier stages of the game. Unfortunately, it seemed that iRaffer was just ulting on top of himself consistently. I don't know what that issue was.
Yeah, I saw that too a couple of times.
I don't know if iRaffer...
You said misclick, and I said it like 3 times.
Maybe he has it on Instacast or something, so
Possibly.
he just like...
He just like presses it, or I don't know. iRaffer did not have the best Khepri ults. There was definitely some situations where I'm gonna go back to the 1 kill VoteNBK had was in that mid lane on the tier 1 when we saw the siege and the snipes are coming through. Dimi dies at the edge of a tier 2. iRaffer's right there, could have ulted him, doesn't ult him. Then he ults Captain Twig a couple seconds later when he's full health.
Captain Twig.
Not Captain Twig.
he was
adapting on the Nemesis. I'm so used to Twig and Nemesis. It makes sense, but
he said this off air, and I corrected
did
him off air, and he still did the same thing. Let's look at the standings. points after that set between NRG and CycloneGG here. And you should see that NRG have now started to climb back to their usual position near the top or at the top. 4 points for them, and then right behind them is Cringe Crew, Tony.
Cringe Crew just lights out with those 2 splits, and then Obey Alliance getting this split earlier on. Cyclone, they still have yet to find a win, but they're going to have the next set against Obey.
And this is what's really scary for Obey. They split with Cringe Crew, a team they definitely wanted to come out in 2-0, make sure to secure a top 2 spot in this LAN. And with Cyclone, they just fought a harder team than Obey, just flat out. They did. They fought the reigning world champions, and they went toe-to-toe with them for about the first 15 to 20 minutes in both games. They got to be feeling even more confident heading to Obey. Obey really need to watch themselves.
Well, we actually have one of the NRG players standing by with aggro right now. It's Adapt King for an interview after that last set.
All right, I'm joined by the king himself, like Hindu said, adapting. A good first day overall, but how would you assess your first day performance here?
I think it's been a pretty good first day. I think I'm not entirely satisfied with our results, but yeah, we're off to a decent start, and hopefully we can keep it up. Feeling pretty confident heading into the future games and feeling really happy about myself.
I mean, there's a lot of talk overall about the players in Europe and you guys versus Orbit, more specifically you versus Cuvo Fred. How did that motivate you going forward into this LAN?
Oh, that motivated me so much actually, because I don't know, for some reason I was just kind of losing a bit of motivation for a while there, and you know, with everything that was like said about like you and stuff, that just really sparked something in me, because I really have that desire to be the best, and it made me want to prove myself.
Absolutely. Well, you guys have sitting at the top right now, sitting at 4 points. A lot of people expecting you to be the top seed coming out of Group C here. And who do you think, assuming that you will qualify for Super Regionals, who do you think would be joining you right now, looking at how teams are playing?
From this LAN,
Yes.
Probably Obey.
Yeah.
Yeah, either Obey or Cringe Crew. I can't really call it between them.
I mean, both teams have looked pretty solid here. Cringe Crew able to split with both you and Obey. And Cringe Crew coming with some different stuff. We saw Obey run the healer composition with the Raw, and then the Amaterasu support for emilitoo. Do you guys have strategy? I mean, healing compositions, the sustain overall through these group stages has been very, very prevalent. How have you guys prepared for that sort of composition?
Can't tell you that, man. What? We're playing.
Yeah, all right, you don't want to give it away. I
Yeah.
understand. Well, NRG, they're done for today, but up next is going to be Obey versus Cyclone. We'll see if the boys of CycloneGG are able to turn it around and pick up a win against Obey. Thanks, man. No, I didn't want to